Welcome. I'm your host, Paula Scatoloni, the founder of Transformative Harmonics, a podcast that offers listeners a synthesis of ancient wisdom and modern science. Hello, guests. Welcome to another episode of Transformative Harmonics. I'm Paula Scatoloni, and I'm here on this lovely fall day with a beautiful person that I'm going to enjoy spending time with today and share with you. Before we start our episode, as always, I'm going to invite you to take a moment, if you're not in a moving vehicle, even if you are, to just look at your surroundings and find yourself for a moment. Give yourself a moment to take a breath and feel your back and underneath you and your feet on the ground. I always like to ask that question, how do I know I'm here and not someplace else? So that's our sensory system that we use to answer that question. This gives us a time to shift from fifth gear into first or second as we get ready to ingest some new information, new stories, and new relational connections. And to do that, we need to let go and create some space inside so something new can land. If anything today feels resonant, then I'm thrilled and I hope it helps you on your path. And if it doesn't fit, I invite you to leave it on the shelf. Maybe you'll come back to it later and you'll take another bite and chew on it. So, but we're gonna give you a lot today to stretch. As you know, in this podcast, we're stretching our paradigms. So today I am here with Jeilene Tracey. Jeilene is a sound healer, medical intuitive, and channeled guidance. Jeilene works with a variety of guides and her higher self to access the multidimensional field for sound healing, intuitive guidance, and DNA clearing and activations. Jeilene combines the guidance she receives with her scientific background in DNA, epigenetics, and the body's systems to offer a uniquely grounded and detailed healing modality called Vibrational Genetics. She also offers in-depth courses on a variety of topics to expand the knowledge base of humanity. Meditations and healing sessions with Jeilene incorporate the use of sound frequencies to shift discordant energies back into harmony, shift DNA function, and clear trauma from the physical, mental, emotional, and spiritual bodies. Jeilene offers private sessions, group sound experiences, courses, workshops, retreats, wellness counseling, and meditations. Welcome, Jeilene.
Thank you. Thank you so much for having me.
I'm so glad we get to have a more in-depth talk about your work. I've met with you a few times and haven't had a chance to hear your story. So we met through a shared colleague and friend, and I was so thrilled to learn about your work with sound. And I thought that the timing was good for us to connect and have my community learn about your work.
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you. It's such a rich, energetic time right now, right? So much going on. It's always fun to chat about these topics.
Yes. And there's so many people using sound differently, and it's exciting, this merging field of sound and vibration. And so I love just bringing those folks on to talk about the wide variety of ways we can use sound. So if you don't mind, given that my audience is also still getting used to some of the concepts that I'm bringing about awakening and this collective shift, I thought I might start today with asking you about how you talk about our collective awakening and a word I heard you use on a podcast, reintegration. So I would love to have you share your thoughts or words that help you to describe this process to people that you work with.
Yeah. Okay. So the way I feel about the path of awakening or the path of remembering is really what it is that we come to Earth and from our soul energy. And the way that guides have always shown me is that your soul is literally broadcasting energy to animate and create the physical aspects of you, that we have a physical body with its genetics, with its DNA and everything. And then your soul integrates into that physical vehicle at the time of gestation at some point. And then we are born, but we are not born remembering where we came from. Some small children do have a lot of glimpses of memory of it and will have past life remembrances and realizations, and they'll talk to their families about it. And that's always newsworthy. And that's always something that's fun and interesting to listen to. But generally speaking, with conditioning from society, we're not taught to dip into that liminal space and keep remembering. So by the time we become adults, we've been conditioned to really shut that part of ourselves down. And from my generation, I was also taught to shut my emotions down. And the emotions are really the gateway into the remembering, because as human beings, we are equipped with this incredible nervous system that is so sensitive that many of us are suffering the sensitivity from right now, right? Because so many world events are chaotic, and everything that's happening in our world, technology has caused everything to feel a lot faster, coupling that with the actual energy field moving a lot quicker. So a lot of us feel overwhelmed energetically. And if we don't have the tools to understand how our emotions and how our nervous system play into that, and that's probably, I'm guessing, a lot of what your work is, helping people to unpack that and get into that connection, understand how their body is reacting to it. So for me, the process of awakening that we're all going through is really a process of remembering. It's remembering who and what we are, and we are souls having a human experience. I think the Buddhists have been saying that for 5,000 years. I don't think this is a new concept, right? It's as old as we are. It's probably, 100,000 years old, this knowledge. But it doesn't get infused into our everyday thinking and life. And so I think when people talk about magical thinking, what they're talking about is recognizing and infusing your day-to-day experience with this knowledge. Oh, right, I am a soul having a human experience on a planet that doesn't really foster my remembering of that or support it necessarily. I've really got to go out of my way to create tools and learn how to reconnect with those parts of my knowing, reconnect with my intuition, allow myself to be operating from my heart and not from my brain, because that's a big part of our conditioning, is that it's all about, how intelligent you are, how smart you are. And it's not necessarily earth intelligence, or it's not intuitive intelligence. It's really, what can you tell me about what you know versus what can you tell me about what you feel? And the shame of that is that humans are incredibly good at feeling when we allow ourselves. And the more we feel, the more we know, because that's your truth. What you feel, the way you interact with your energetic environment, that's your truth. And I think that's what we're all starting to awaken into, is that, wow, I am this amazing being that's having this more limited human experience that is really focused on the five senses. But, oh, wait a minute, I think I'm so much more. And I think that journey of remembering occurs differently for each and every person. There's no roadmap that is more correct than another one. Everyone's going to have their personal experience with it, but all roads lead back to that one truth. And that is that you are made up of the stuff of that unified field from source. That's what we are. And we go about remembering that in many different ways.
Mm-hmm. I love that. And that really speaks to some of us, I'm not sure, as we hear your story, may have been aware that there was more as a child, but didn't have the places to explain it. And
Yes.
So our awakening is like, oh, finally, other people are starting to talk about what I knew as a child.
Yes.
And others are just coming into this for the first time. And they've never asked that question, right? Why am I? Who am I? So it's beautiful. In your own story of coming into this next rendition of your life,
Mm-hmm.
the stage, right?
Yes.
What was the process that you went through that brought you to the now version?
Yeah. So I was raised in an atheist household. And from the time that I was little, I spent a lot of time outdoors in nature. And the very minute I feel like I stepped on this planet, I was like, I'm going to be a scientist. So I knew that from the time that I was a little kid. There wasn't a question. It wasn't like, I wonder what I'm going to do with my life. It was more like, how am I going to get from point A to point B? So I always knew that. I always had a love of the outdoors, nature, science, the bugs, everything. And so I focused on that in school, and that just, solidified my atheist background of like, because science is so black and white, right or wrong, proven or unproven. And that was just fine for me for the longest time. I thought, even despite the fact that as a kid, I had some metaphysical experiences, had a visitation, had dreams, was obsessed with shows like Twilight Zone and Creature Feature as an 8 or 9-year-old kid. Right. So I had this interest in the occult, this interest in sort of what was behind the curtain. But I don't know, it just seemed normal to me. I didn't know that that was unusual for a little kid to be focused on that. But I also had this side of me that was just very, very driven to understand the science and the nitty gritty. And it led me to studying DNA in college and to become very enamored with DNA and understanding it at a broader level. And I went into a career of working with genomics and genomics companies and was very happy. I mean, I felt like, I've made it. I am in my zone. I'm doing my thing. And then I started having kids. And I think for the first time, as soon as you have a child, it opens up, it rips off whatever scab you developed as a little kid that shut down parts of you, of your emotions. And it started to have me question, the way that I was doing things, the way that I was relating to people, how emotionally available I was to people. Before that, I thought, why fix what isn't broken? And, I just didn't realize that I wasn't really expressing myself fully. And you start having kids, and then they call you to the mat. They're like, hey, I need you to show up for me in this way. And actually, I very also luckily have a husband that also did the same thing. So between my kids and my husband, who kept saying like, where are you? Right here. I need you right here. I started to explore what is going on with me. Why am I so shut down? And what I realized is that I'm actually a clairsentient person who felt so much as a little kid that I turned that dial way down, stuffed it down, shut it off. I started at one point after my third child, I took some time off and I started getting interested in taking classes that would open me up. And I did a variety of things. I did theta healing, I did Reiki, and Reiki, I always call it the gateway energy, right? Because it opens you up you get those attunements, and it just opens the floodgates for the energy to come in and for your soul finally to start speaking to you. And as also as a claircognizant person, I was getting downloads and information from my soul all the time, but I thought that that was just normal. I mean, I think it is normal, but I mean to say that as a little kid, when I knew things, I just thought that that was absolutely normal. And that a lot of times people would say, you sound like an adult. How do you know this information? Even when I was a little kid. And I was just getting this kind of stream of downloads. So anyway, long story short is that I had this very, very scientific, very black and white type of upbringing with these little periods of my soul dipping in and reminding me that I was more. And then I had the kids. It really opened something up for me. I learned that I need to connect with my emotions. And as soon as I did, my whole clairsentient side of me really opened up. And everything I would try in my classes would work well. And I just realized, oh, okay, there is something to this. I remember the first time I ever did a session with a medium. She, at the end of doing a couple sessions with her, she said, do you know that you're like me? And I was like, I don't think so. I'm not no. Mm-mm. And she said, no, you are. And you should probably start meditating daily and start, doing some things. And she was right, but I didn't realize it at the time. I didn't really know that the experiences I had were unusual or, were breadcrumbs that were leading me to doing this as a livelihood and discovering more of myself this way. So then it just started to spiral and become bigger and blossom. And the more I discovered, the more I learned, the more I realized, the scientific part of me doesn't need to be outside of the metaphysical part of me. The two actually meet really well in the middle. And that was through a course that I took, or several courses I took in Body Talk. It's a mind-body integrated medicine. And it really focused on the science and epigenetics, which I love, and utilizing that to move energy in the body. So this was my first experience of doing healing in this way. It really spoke to me because some of the other modalities I'd tried just felt a little too nebulous for my science brain. I needed something that was really concrete and grounded. And I loved that this was. And so I started doing a lot of sessions with it and getting certified to become a practitioner and become more advanced. And during that time, when I was doing a lot of sessions for my certification, I was dropping down to ground into the earth every day for my sessions. And that is when I met a group of beings that were living in the earth. They're called Mantis beings. And they started helping me with my sessions and giving me information and actually informed me that the protocol I was using was unnecessary and that what I should be doing instead of tapping is toning. And I started hearing tones in my ears. And they were kind of zooming me around people's bodies and showing me where there was discordance. Things were out of harmony. And then I would hear the tones and I started to realize, you want me to make those tones. Okay, well, that's a whole nother level of my discomfort because I'm not a trained singer. So I eventually, got the courage up, started doing it and started asking friends, can I try this on you? And so fast forward many, many years, a decade later, that's exactly what I'm still doing. The Mantis have taught me an incredible amount about how sound interfaces with the physical body, how it brings discordant energy back into alignment and back into this beautiful flow with that source energy field. They taught me how it can heal, how it shifts cells that are not functioning properly. And they also taught me a great deal about working with DNA and opening up DNA, removing blocks, removing layers of whether it's thought form patterns or whether it's biological from some of the chemicals that we're dealing with, or whether it came down through genetics. The soul expresses physically through our DNA, so it's a portal. So they taught me a lot about that. And that's how I ended up using sound and my path really from going from being completely scientific to much more of a blend.
Yeah. So it probably took a lot of trust to allow a team to guide you through things with from another place inside as you.
Mm-hmm.
And so that might be new to my listeners. I talk a lot about coming into the right brain. And when we shift into the right brain, a whole world opens up, right, of information. And this is what was there to greet you. It's
yes.
Beautiful.
Very much so. And it did. I don't want to diminish how long it took me to trust that these beings were A, actually there, B, that I could rely on their information. It took me, with that more scientific brain, it took me a lot of empirical evidence to get to the point where I trusted it. And I felt like, okay, I'm not making this up. It's actually happening. I had a couple people I would work on that would mention them standing there or one of them standing there. The one in particular, I call her Mari. One came over who didn't know that I was doing this yet and said, who's that 9-foot being standing in the corner? And I was, you can see that? So I thought, okay, there's some validation right there.
And what kind of things did you notice? What was happening for the clients?
What I noticed is that, for one, it helped me operate from a more compassionate, heart-centered place, because they're very, very compassionate beings. I noticed that the way in which I was helping people heal, I started to understand it had nothing to do with me, that I was just there as a conduit for energy to move through me, to enable the person to shift their frequency into a harmonic field that would allow them to heal naturally, that the body heals itself once it's in the right frequency. And that I'm just there. They told me that, so much humility. They told me that over and over again, like, look, you're just here to be the go-between us and the client. You know, I mean, this might have been my snarky interpretation of it. They're like, hey, don't get ahead of yourself. Like, this is
I know.
exactly, it's not about you.
Yes.
We appreciate that we've been grooming you since you were a little kid to be focused on DNA, and we appreciate you showing up. We appreciate you being the human, the boots on the ground. But this is not about you. This is about you being in agreement to being a healer and being here and doing this with us. And so, yeah.
Well,
so keep it humble, sister.
good. And what is you started to mention then some of the things that you're learning, and some must be also information you knew from your background and training in microbiome or in epigenetics. And so all that's kind of coming together and integrating at this point.
Yeah, exactly. So one of the companies I worked for was a microbiome testing or sequencing lab. We did it as a service, and I worked there for several years. And it was in the sort of the beginning phases of the microbiome being understood and well known for being so critical in our health and well-being. And it was back in 2009, 2010 when I started there. And it was such an exciting time because we were discovering so much about the impact of the microbiome. And then later, at the end of that job, that's the last job I had before I started doing all of these different classes and awakening. And what was amazing to me, and what the Mantis taught me about the microbiome, is that it's basically, well, there's more microbes in your body than human cells. You're something like, you could say 2/3 bacteria, 1/3, or maybe it's 60-40. So the amount of genetic material responsible for making you, 100 times more of that comes from your microbiome versus your own genetics, because the human genome has about 20,000 or so operational genes in it. And then we make something like 300,000 proteins in the human body. They're carrying out all the work of the cells, and probably even more. I don't know. That might be an outdated figure from when I was doing this more regularly in the industry. Long and the short of it is it many, many hundred times more proteins. So there's a lot of genetic material that is contributed from your microbiome. So literally, we are here at the behest of our microbiome. And what the Mantis taught me about it is not only that, but they, along with your mitochondria in your body, which are the little energy packets, generators that live in every cell, which were thought to be outside microbes that endocytose became part of our cells at some point to help us to generate energy on our own. Along with that, they create an energy signature of every human. So your microbiome is basically a relative energy signature of you biochemically in your body. And they have consciousness, and they're part of your whole overall experience. And so everything you do, whether it's what you eat, how much you sleep, how much you exercise, the way you take care of your body, you're going to impact your microbiome. And in turn, your microbiome is going to impact you. How well you function mentally, emotionally, it's all happening with your microbiome, because they're producing not only neurotoxins, but neurotransmitters, hormones, everything we need to survive and to express. And hormones and neurotransmitters are one of the most important things in the body, right? Because that is a big part of our emotional expression. It's a big part of the way that the world occurs to us, how easy it feels to be here, how difficult it is, how content and calm we are here. So you can imagine that this whole system plays such an integral role in our experience here. And so it makes sense that we should pay attention to it. It makes sense that we should form a conscious, connected relationship to it, because it certainly is operating at full tilt in your body at all times. And if you're not really working with it, then it's just doing its thing, and you can feel quite out of control with what's happening in your body. So they taught me a lot about that and the energetics. When beings from outside of our atmosphere, outside of our energy system, are looking at Earth, they taught me that they are basically looking at the whole frequency of the human population, and they're doing that by feeling the vibratory energy basically from us. And a big part of that indicator is from the molecules, is from the microbes and from the mitochondria. So it's like an energy signature.
Yeah, we're emanating our vibration.
Yes.
All the time.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah.
But we're not doing it alone. We have partners, and they're tiny little microbes that we can't see.
That are sentient. Yeah.
Yeah. You have trillions of them in your body. So
Love it. I love it. So we could talk to ourselves. Yeah.
yes.
Yeah.
Oh, big part of that. I teach that in my class. That you should be talking to your DNA and to your cells and your microbiome.
Wonderful.
Yeah.
And so let's shift a teeny bit, or maybe like the next gear, because I did hear you speak about the pineal gland as we were talking about hormones, and I talk about the endocrine system in my training and classes, and but I'd love to get a little into that, the science of that, if we have a moment.
Yeah, absolutely. So the pineal gland is in the brain, as you know. It's sort of it's like lower mid, I guess is how we describe it. And it's located in the part of the brain that gets constantly bathed with blood, right? So it's on as I understand, it's on the outside of the blood-brain barrier. So it's getting bathed in blood all the time, which is really important because it's constantly getting information from the body about what is going on with the hormones, what's going on with the energy of the body. And it's also important because of its location and how much it's affected by your overall vibration, by the way that you're breathing, by the way that your body is responding to its environment. So the pineal is what I call the divine signal transducer. So it's the part of our body that interfaces with the higher dimensional field. It's the part of our body that is like an antenna, and it receives information and then responds accordingly. So if you are doing things like breath work or lots of sound work and meditation, and you're bringing your body into a state of calm and alignment with your soul energy through that relaxation and peace, what happens is that your pineal can then do what it's good at doing, which is basically tuning in these higher frequencies and converting those higher frequencies into hormonal expression, yes, but also converting it into more metaphysical experiences for you by the release of different hormones that get converted like into DMT, dimethyltryptamine, right? To give you a more expansive experience. And really what it does, it's the gateway to help you remember what you are. Because when you have those DMT experiences, people who actually are in some of the experiments to try that out, what they typically say is, I feel like I met God. I feel like I just had a transcendent experience of being in higher dimensions. And that's how close we are to remembering who we are. It's literally a hormone or converted into a neurotransmitter. I don't know how you would describe it exactly, but it's literally right there within us. We create our own DMT in our body, but we have this other enzyme that breaks it down very quickly. But if you weren't breaking it down all the time, it's kind of like a fail-safe, because if you were just always in a higher dimensional awareness, you wouldn't probably get to the business of working out all of the karmic stuff and all of the emotional baggage you brought in with your soul that you wanted to learn through and you wanted to grow through and evolve. So it's a gateway, it's a gatekeeper, if you will, that keeps you attuned to this dimensional field, the third dimension, but always with the possibility of opening it up and cracking the door, letting some light shine through to remind you of what you are.
Yes. Well, it's certainly for certain people in my programs, that's one of the things that happens when they listen to the sound. They start to see a lot of imagery and go on journeys. And not everyone, but, maybe 3 out of 5 in a class. And so there's, and it's akin to a psychedelic journey. So I read about the chemical response that, initiates that.
Yes.
For them. Okay.
Yes. Yeah. And the pineal is also where we produce benzodiazepines as well, right? So I believe that's what they chemically mimicked for Prozac. It relaxes you, right? It helps you to just feel like, oh, hey, everything's okay, which is necessary for us to get to our nervous systems are so sensitive, and we inherit these reptilian brains that are so quick to trigger into fight or flight, or freeze, paralyze, right? And I think that when we're in those states of being, you cannot really access this higher dimensional field. It locks you into this space, into this dimension. You need that trigger of, okay, calm down. It's okay. The nervous system can receive this wash of calm and peace so that you can get back to remembering. But I think that we inherit genetically this type of body, this genome, this system in our nervous function for a purpose. And it is, again, we don't want to just arrive and then remember everything. Then that would defeat the purpose of coming into a polarized, separate experience where we felt, unloved at any one point, or we felt alone, or we felt lost. Those are trigger experiences that help us to grow and evolve and remember that there's more to this experience. But you do have to go through some of that difficulty oftentimes to get to that place.
Mm-hmm. The suffering is the grit, is the good stuff in a way.
Yes.
The self growth, unfortunately. And so, yeah, we have different doses of how much we took on.
Yes.
Yeah.
And there's something to be said that if you can remember that you came to experience things, no matter how difficult they were, for the reason of helping you to grow through it as a soul, then you can say, well, if I organized this myself before I came here, then I've got to not take it so seriously. I mean, do the growth, do the work, but also don't feel like it's eclipsing your understanding of, where to find your joy, where to find your happiness, because it's something that you designed for a purpose. It's not something you designed to ruin your life. It's not something you designed to make things miserable for yourself. So you do have to keep things in context along the way.
Yeah. There's some people that I speak with about post-traumatic growth and how to bring in the playfulness and the things that also are part of the enjoyable parts of life, even if we have trauma. Like those can live side by side. It doesn't have to
Yes.
be, I can't have the love and the play and the delight if I have trauma. So yeah, many of us are learning that. We have a similar, I think, affinity to speaking about the earth as a sentient. Yeah.
Yes.
And for myself, and the many people that I work with, humans are complicated, and trying to reestablish a relationship with, I work with archetypes and this, the feminine archetype, the masculine archetype as a therapist, and coming back into relationship with this idea of mother, right? And the mother, but some people haven't had good experiences with their mother. So that's hard to even consider, right? So but it is something I think that's part of the journey, because mothering is a verb, and mother is a verb, right? Is goes hand in hand with the earth.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely.
Because we are her children, right?
Yes.
We are of that. And so, so I'd love to just hear any thoughts you have about how you think about that, or how you might encourage us to cultivate that reciprocity and relationship again.
Yeah, that's great to touch on this, because the earth is part of everything I do. I don't start a day without dropping roots energetically down into the earth, sending her gratitude and love, and then feeling that energy return back to my body. I don't start a meditation. I don't start a session without doing that, because I feel like we are expressions of earth. We are part of her experience. I really think the whole awakening and the transformation that's occurring to humanity is actually, it's really an earth story. It's really her transformation. It's her evolution into a new dimensional field. She's already pretty much in the fourth dimension, and we're just trying to keep up, basically. We're trying to not get left behind. So I really think this is an earth story, which I am honored and grateful to be a part of, because I absolutely love this being so much and feel that the gift of being part of her story is so amazing. It's innumerable, the number of things that are a blessing of being part of her journey. And I think that our DNA and everything that we do, the microbiome are the workhorse of Earth, right? They're in the soils, they're in the plants, they're in the animals, they're in the humans. They are everywhere. They're in the air. I mean, they are helping her through her evolution. So when we connect to them, we're connecting to Earth. And when we connect to Earth, it's like coming home to what I call our home note, which is that vibratory field that we arrive in when we come here. So we're borrowing these bodies to have this human experience, and these bodies are attuned vibrationally to Earth's frequency. So we're healthy when we're connected to the earth, when we're barefoot, when we're spending time with her, when we're out in nature. This is why forest bathing is so beneficial, because the trees have all this concentrated earth energy within them. And so the infusion of her energy into your body is really best done if you can be barefoot, if you can be outside, swim in her oceans, walk her lands, and just spend time with her, honor her, bring the honoring of her into your home, into your life. And the more connected we are, I call it earth intelligence instead of artificial intelligence. And I think the more connected we are to her, the better life is for us as humans, because we're just so integrated into her experience. And I think that the gifts of doing so are immense, and it's part of our journey moving into the next dimensional space. And we come to Earth to grow and to evolve energetically. And as we're doing that, we're feeding into her evolution and she's feeding into ours. It's always this two-way street with her. And so anything you give, you get back tenfold. And I feel that my entire healing practice wouldn't even its foundation is in Earth's energy. Absolutely. That's where I met my guides, inside her body. And I have obviously other guides now too that I work with, but they all honor her energy. All of the divine feminine beings that I work with, I think what we're going through as a population is remembering and reconnecting to the divine feminine mother, the divine mother. And to make a comment about sometimes when we don't have the best showing of a mother, you can find healing within the mothering of Earth, because she's very, very gentle, very loving, very warm, very supportive. It's like you can feel her energy wrapping around you. And there's a lot of pressure on our human mothers and myself as a mother to show up and be, this amazing being that is sort of all and everything that mother stands for. And we're just human, and we screw it up a lot. I know I have as a mother. I'm sure that, especially my girls will tell me. I have 2 girls and a boy, and it's just natural. We're not going to be perfect for every little soul having a human experience, but that's part of it. But the Earth, I feel, is just beneficent and holds space for you and reminds us, oh, this is what a true mother can be. It fills in all those gaps of energy that you didn't even know you had. Whereas human mothers, of course, are going to struggle to do that because they're trying to fill their own gaps. They can't always fill everyone else's gaps.
Yeah. I love it. I agree. And what I also like about inviting people into relationship with nature is that it's everywhere. And so it's just simply acknowledging it as a relationship.
Yes, it's free and easy. Just go outside. If you're in a city, you can go to a park. I mean, trees are everywhere. Mm-hmm. Just lean against one and feel the energy of it. Mm-hmm. And it shifts your whole biofield when you do that, just like sound does, right? Breath, sound, nature, these are all gateways into feeling yourself and your truth. And so
I found that the sound is quieting the static so that we find that other vibration. There's so much static, like this old TV that we used to try to get our station to be clear.
Yes.
And that's, a lot of it's inherited or just life around us being on the planet. But it takes that static quieting down to feel the vibration and to even know that there's another pulse there to choose from.
Yeah. Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. And you mentioned before we got on about how there's been some big sun bursts coming into the planet, big waves of energy coming in. And I think that more and more that feels like it's happening. The Schumann resonance, which is that relative measurement of the Earth's vibratory field around it, that's been spiking a lot over the past few years. I mean, I don't think I was paying as close attention to it before, but my goodness, it has been spiking a lot. And it always seems to coordinate when I'm feeling big energy in my body. And so really empirically, I can say that over the years, they correlate pretty well. And I think that that's Earth moving into that next dimensional field and us receiving that light and learning to integrate it so that we can, again, keep up with her.
Mm-hmm. Wonderful. Well, I'm so glad we have people like you here to help us understand this from multiple ways.
Oh, thank you.
What type of things can people do in your community if they want to spend more time with you?
Yeah. I love teaching courses, so I do that every so often. I'm starting to do that some more. I'll do more of that in 2026. Where I love working with people one-on-one. That is incredible. And I also do retreats that I really love. So I'm a sound healer. I do sound baths. If you're in the Santa Cruz area, you can come join my sound baths. I'm doing one tonight at a yoga studio. But otherwise, because this is a world community, I love it when people come to retreats and spend a week getting daily sound baths, doing breath work, connecting to the nature and to the land. I always do them in energetically powerful places. In 2026, I'm going to Mexico in February, and on the Pacific coast in a little town called Chicala, which is gorgeous and very heart-centered energy there. Later in the year, I'll be in Mount Shasta in the summer, and that's always phenomenal energy there. The mountain is incredible. And then in the fall, I'm going to be going to Egypt and doing a retreat there to take people along that initiatory path along the Nile, culminating up in the Giza pyramids, and probably also incorporating a trip out to the desert, because I just did that and it was amazing and life-changing, and such a good place to integrate all of the insights and revelations that came along that trip along the Nile. So yeah, I'm so excited about this and just bringing more experiences to people where we can really connect. That's my thing, not so much really big groups. I like to keep it small and intimate so everybody can really have a personalized, big experience that really shifts the needle for them. So that's how I love to work. I love to work with people in intimate settings and help them realize and experience big changes.
And embody them all the way through it. It's like,
yes.
So I have 2 questions that I ask my guests at the end of each episode. We might have covered them already, but I will ask them anyway so that we just make this point. The first is, if you have one specific thing that has been super important for you on the path. I know we've talked about a lot of different things, but sometimes just having one can be a starting point for people. What might that one thing be that's been helpful on your path of awakening?
I'd say it's my family. If I didn't have my family triggering me to get into this in the first place and requiring me to show up in a softer, more open way, I don't know how long it would have taken me. I think they really accelerated the whole thing for me.
We gotta reframe those things that are challenging. I like it.
Yeah, my kids have been such amazing teachers, and we can all do it through a different lens, but that was the lens that I came to learn through.
Yeah. Okay. And then the second is, if you have one message that feels important today. I know our messages as teachers, change. What feels important for you today?
The most important thing, I think, for each of us is to remember who we are and what we came here to do, and to be gentle with ourselves as we go through the process of remembering, because we haven't been taught how to do that necessarily. And so we're all going to go through a journey of that remembering, and it might come slowly, and there's no race, and you're not going to run out of time. You haven't done anything wrong. You're doing it exactly to your plan. Everything is great. You have plenty of time. There's no hurry. You're not running late. It's all going to work out. And we come from an infinite, eternal universe. And so anything you don't finish, you can always do next time.
So true. Thank you.